Coming up on This Old House.
Today we're putting in a brand new composite deck and railing system.
All right, that snapped right in and we're all done.
Nice job, Tommy. And I think we are looking at some of the best views from the house right here.
How right you are.
And we're going to take this tired old mantle and turn it into a thing of beauty.
And then we'll visit a factory where the low VOC paint for our house is being made.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, let me show you what we got here.
The river looked great during the summer, and it looks just as great during a New England autumn. You can see that all the leaves have started to change, and the neighbors have started to take their boats out for the winter. Now, our homeowners, who are going to be back in the house in just a month or so, well, they are determined to take advantage of these beautiful scenes back here, as you can see by the big addition we did off the back of the house. Downstairs, a family room, upstairs, a sun porch, all wrapped in glass, and off to the right, a big deck so they can get outside. There is a section that comes off of the kitchen, and this is about 7.5 feet wide by 14 feet long. And then the main section here that comes off of the sunroom is, what'd you say, 16 feet square?
16 feet square. It's a good sized deck.
So lots of decking to go down. What are we using?
We're actually using material that we've used lots of times before. It's a recycled material, recycled plastic and reclaimed wood.
So we've got a composite here.
Right, but this is a new generation. It has a new coating on top that's a wood grain.
Yep.
It's a simulated wood grain. It actually is a thin veneer. This veneer won't stain, it's mold resistant, and it has a 25-year warranty.
But we do have the end grain exposed and this little veneer, so we've got to hide this part of the board.
Right, and the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to do this right here. We're going to take the decking that's in the field and two boards on the outside and run them perpendicular, and that will hide the end grain.
You guys, what do you call this, breadboarding?
It's called breadboarding, exactly.
All right, so we've got it on this part of the deck, but we've got to actually install that perimeter piece over here on this part of the deck.
Right, we want to get this decking down today. We're going to start with the breadboarding.
All right, we got a 20-footer here, so it's got some weight and a lot of flex to it.
So we can scribe it. I've built these little brackets to support it on. Now, if you look at the sample piece here, you can see the groove on each side.
So this is a piece that we use in the field.
Right, and the fastening system that we're going to use requires that we have this dado.
Okay.
But I don't want to see the dado on the outside edge of the porch, so I ordered a couple of pieces without any dado in them.
All right.
All right, so now you're going to see a nice smooth edge when you look at it from down below.
All right, so first we scribe.
That's right.
How far off you want to set it?
Back it off about 1/4 inch because we have plenty of room here. And now I want to mark back from the outside edge 3 1/4. And we take that piece out.
Tommy, how much of an overhang do you want down here?
2 inches from the long point of the miter.
2 inches, long point of the miter.
All right, now we turn the board around so we can make our cuts. I'm going to cut out for this post right here first. Now I'll plunge cut this one. For the end, we'll miter it at a 45. All right, so we've turned the board around, so now let's see how it fits.
Pretty good fit down here.
All right, and I got a good fit here.
All right, so all the boards in the field are secured with a blind fastener, which is why these boards have a dado, but this one doesn't.
Right, so we're going to make a dado right here with this bit that the manufacturer supplies. We made a groove already on the long edge of the board. Now I have to make another slot right here on the end of the miter for our spline joint. That spline will keep the two pieces flush. To do that, I'm going to use a different slot cutter. Now I didn't run the slot all the way to the end so you don't see it at the edge of the miter. All right, our breadboard is made of two different boards. We're going to install the second board first. We're going to use a blind fastening system right here. The blind fastener actually has two prongs on it and a screw hole right here. And this little piece of metal that sticks out right here is actually a spacer, so all the boards will be spaced evenly.
So two prongs for the opposing dados.
Right.
You slide it into the
Slide
first.
it in right there. We're going to use a stainless steel screw into the structure. Down nice and tight. Now this one sticking out will accept the next board that will push right into it. Put one on both sides. All right, now we'll slide it into the spline here. Okay, now push it in. We want to get it into our clips. It looks pretty good. Now I want to screw right through the face over here into the corner because the posts will hide the screws.
This manufacturer also makes a railing system. This is a composite material. It comes in different colors. We've chosen white, and it starts with taking a sleeve and sliding it over our pressure-treated posts. That slides on like that, and then they've got this trim piece right here that slides on to dress up the base. And with those in place, all that's left are the rails and the balusters, and we've got one more section to install upstairs. Between each composite post, we've got a top rail, a bottom rail, and all the individual balusters. And you're hanging these rails, Tommy, with a bracket?
Right, these brackets right here actually hang the railings. Now, the first thing I have to do is set a gauge block, the height that I want the railing to come down from the top of the post.
So that's in place.
Right, so now what I want to do is screw this into the post. So the first thing I want to do is pre-drill some holes. Now I'm going to use these screws. They're treated screws, actually a ceramic screw meant for exterior use. Now using this template that the manufacturer gives us, I'm going to place it on top of the top bracket, center it on the post, and squeeze it, and then I'll put this clamp on the bottom so it doesn't move. Now I'm going to take this bracket right here and slide it right into that hole, just like that, and pre-drill a couple of holes. And put a couple more screws in.
All right, Tommy, that's the last bracket.
All right, while you finished up the brackets, I put this leg support right here on the decking, and I put a leg under the center of the railing to keep the railing from sagging over time. Now we'll just roll the railing under the bracket, pull it up into place.
Yep.
Now just push the leg down onto the deck.
There's a little end cap that I've got to force in there. Okay, that slides into place. All right, that piece is in, and then we've got two pilot holes.
And I'll put two screws in, and that will hold that into position. All right, now we're going to snap this into place.
Slide it underneath this trim piece here.
Got it?
Yep.
And now we'll put the balusters in. Now we put our top spacer in. Okay, now we're ready for the top railing. Slide that into position. Okay, now we put our end caps in. This time we slide them up from the bottom. Lock them in.
Okay, mine's in.
Okay, good. Now I want to screw the railing in from underneath. Now the top part of our railing is some of the same material we used on the decking.
So we'll drill some pilot holes from underneath and then screw it from the bottom.
All right, now we have the railing screwed off. We can slide this cap underneath to hide all the holes.
All right, and just slide that underneath, okay.
Yeah. All right, that's snapped right in and we're all done.
Nice job, Tommy. And I think we are looking at some of the best views from the house right here.
How right you are.
Painting is pretty far along here on the outside of the house, and it's getting underway inside as well. Now this year we're using a new paint that promises richer colors, but also fewer volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. So we sent Norm to the factory to find out what goes into a quality can of paint.
I met up with paint manufacturer Harry Adler to see how his specialty paint company makes the paint base.
So we have up to 25 different liquid ingredients that go into our paints.
So I guess that explains this network of all this plumbing pipe. And you have to make sure that you connect the right hose to the right pipe.
You better believe it.
They manage the raw ingredients not by volume, but by weight.
So mixing paint, Norm, really is all about accuracy, and weight's the only accurate way to do it. So those pipes on the other side of the wall each correspond to one of these indicators. Because it's all being done by weight, you know it's going to be dead on when it's done.
All right. The liquids are piped into tanks, where each batch is assembled using a computer-controlled recipe and a digital scale. Oh, I see. As Danny's adding the ingredients, the scale is going up.
Yeah, check this out. Put some weight on that and see what happens to that scale.
Wow, it doesn't take much to make it go up.
No, it's really sensitive. That's why weight's so important.
Each ingredient gives the paint a particular quality. Surfactants ensure color uniformity. Glycol is responsible for open time, or the time you have to work with the paint on the wall. And resins bind all the ingredients together. Titanium dioxide is a solid white pigment that scatters light and creates a quality that will mask or hide the surface it is applied to.
One of the key ingredients in all paints is titanium dioxide.
So what makes yours different?
Well, two things. One is we use the very best, and we use more of it, and that's part of what leads to better coverage.
After the liquids, it's time for the dry ingredients, like UV stabilizers, thickeners, and emulsifiers. Paint with a higher solids content will result in better hiding and durability. Now, VOCs, volatile organic compounds, everyone's concerned about those. Why are they so bad for us?
Well, they're bad for a bunch of different reasons. They're in the same category as smog leading to ground level pollution. So they're bad on a bunch of different levels. Bad for the environment, bad for the worker applying the paint, and bad for the person living in the space.
So how do you lower the VOCs in your paint?
Well, what we do is we remove the glycol and replace it with other drying agents that are virtually zero in VOCs.
Okay, so you get a lower VOC and you don't get that strong odor that's typical of latex paints.
Exactly, which is a great side benefit.
All right. Well, it looks like we're time to start filling the empty cans with some of that base.
That's right, that's what's happening here. And what you'll notice, these are being filled in two stages. The first one fills it about 3/4 of the way. The second will fill it the balance, and that's to speed up the line. You get 24 cans in a minute doing it this way. If you did it all to the top of each can, it would actually slow that down.
All right, and after it's full, the lid goes on and off it goes.
That's right. So here are the cans of our base paint coming off the line.
Okay, and of course they need a label, and then finally a handle.
That's right, then into the cardboard boxes, onto pallets, and shipped off to all of our stores.
And that's where we're headed. We've seen how the paint base is made, but most homeowners start the paint experience right here in front of an array of hundreds of paint chips.
Well, this is where the confusion starts.
It sure does. And often they're just reproductions of the color. It's not actual paint.
Well, that's not true with us. This is the real deal. This is paint.
So that'll give you a nice accurate color.
Absolutely does.
Now over here we have samples of some of the paints that our homeowners are considering in a large format, and these are great because they'll be able to hang them up on the wall, look at them at different times of the day and with different lighting. But I'd love to see how you get these colors.
Well, let me show you. Norm, color starts with pigment. And check these out.
Wow, look at that blue. I don't think I've ever seen a blue
These
that
insane?
intense. They're almost blinding.
Yeah, these are obviously synthetics, and we also do use these oxides. So these are earth-derived, where these are manufactured.
And they seem to be very finely ground.
Well, you've touched upon the key, because that really is what separates our product. These super finely ground pigments are what causes our paint to be so saturated, so tightly packed with color, that color on the wall looks different, really more brilliant, saturated than anything you've ever seen.
Now you don't mix the dry pigment with the paint base to get your color, right?
Oh, no, no. What you do, Norm, is you add colorant.
All right, so this is the pigment in a liquid.
Exactly, and that's what is added to our paint base to make our colors.
Okay, so here's a sample of one of the colors we're going to be using at our house. Let's mix some up.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm sure that each color has a very precise recipe of colorants.
Oh, you better believe it. And what I'm going to do is dispense this red that you've selected onto the sheet of paper so you can see exactly what goes into it.
Ah, look at that.
Yeah, let me show you what we got here. So here are the colorants that make up this color.
Okay, it looks like this bright red is very dominant.
Yeah, this is one of our 4 super saturated high strength colorants.
And you have some white,
Yeah, that's going to lighten it a bit.
a little bit of yellow,
Yeah, that's going to warm it up. That's also a high strength colorant.
and this is magenta.
Yeah, that's a blue or red.
So we just mix it all together.
That's right.
It takes a little while to blend them all together, but
It does. Obviously, this isn't how we would normally mix paint.
right. Well, normally the colorant would go right into the paint base in the machine, and then you'd seal it up and put it in a paint shaker and mix it all together.
That's correct.
Looks like the colorant is blending together nicely, and it matches our sample pretty well. And I can't wait till all the colorant is added to the paint base and the paint goes up on the walls at our project.
Yeah, this color is going to look absolutely amazing.
Well, thanks, Harry.
My pleasure.
Back here at the house, the paint is starting to go up on the walls, and we have got a lot of different colors. This mudroom color is called Live Wire, appropriately named because that is a bold look. It's also the same color that's going up here in the hallway. And Mauro, it's a very low VOC paint. Is that good or bad for you guys?
It is good, Kevin, and it's not so good.
All right, a little bit of both. What's the not so good
The
part?
not so good is it dry very fast.
Why is that a problem?
Because I have to keep my edges wet so I can get this job done right.
So you want to paint wet edge to wet edge. And I guess if you've got a big room, you've then got to throw a lot of guys at it.
A couple more guys to cut in, a couple more guys to roll the walls,
Right.
and keep my edges always
So
wet.
you've got a guy cutting and you're rolling here this orange, and on this wall, look at this red. It is so dark and deep and rich. How many coats are going to go up here?
We have 1 coat done, we have 2 more to go.
So 3 coats in total. I guess that's typical for red paint because it takes a lot of coverage. And is that where the good part comes in because this dries fast?
That's the good side of it. We can get 3 coats done in 1 day.
How long would the old paint have taken to dry?
The old paint, we have to wait at least 4 hours.
Whereas with this?
With this, we have to wait about an hour and a half we got between coats.
All right, well, good for you guys and also good for us. I mean, we've got wet paint on the wall and I don't even smell it.
That's no smells.
Great. All right, well, they are certainly some bold colors. This used to be a very dark house, and one of the reasons was because this entire wall here around the fireplace was all wood. And in fact, Tommy, it was what, an old dark knotty pine, right?
It was, exactly. If you tip this down, you can see that we've covered the knotty pine with our board and plastered it.
So plaster, which we're going to get paint on eventually, is going to lighten up a little bit. And you also have got some ideas for dressing up the mantle.
Right, if you look at the rest of this mantle right here, it's really dated with these diamonds. So I want to take these diamonds off and do a simple facelift. We'll put individual panels here to match the kitchen cabinets.
Sounds like a good idea.
So let's tip it back just a little bit. All right, now the first thing I want to do is I want to remove these diamonds right here, and they should be nailed on with some small brads. So I'll just take my chisel. All right, there's the first one.
And there's the second one. So with the diamonds off, we just take a finish sander and clean it up.
Now we take some wood filler and we'll fill all the holes and all the cracks, let it dry, and then we'll sand it again. I took a piece of poplar that's 1/2 inch thick and 5 inches wide, and I ran it through my surface planer, making it 1/4 inch thick. I cut it to length to go in between the pilasters on each side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip 2 strips out of this, one for the top and one for the bottom, to make up my rails. I'm going to use my hand plane to smooth the edge that I ran through the saw. Now this will be our top piece, so what I want to do with this piece is I want to ease over this top edge. Now I'll just set it in place. Now just pin it in place. I'm using these micro pins. They actually are nails without any heads. Now I'm going to install the stiles. Put a little glue on the back. Put it in place. I'll just pin that. Okay, now we're going to install the top rail. But what I've done is if you push it up tight underneath that crown molding, we have a little space between the stiles and the rails. I'm going to pull that down a little. And when this gets painted, it'll have a nice shadow line right between the molding and the rail.
All right. A couple more nails and we've got ourselves an old fireplace mantle with a new life. I can't wait to see that with a coat of paint.
It's going to look good.
We've also got paint going up on the walls, a new deck out back. Things are really moving along.
We're making some headway.
But we've got a lot more work to do, and that's coming up next time. So until then, I'm Kevin O'Connor.
And I'm Tom Silva.
For This Old House. Hey, this is a great idea.